Hello and welcome to House of Cult. My name is Alessandro, and with me is Ariel Salsa, the owner and founder of the Pretty Cult. And today we are joined by Los Angeles-based fairy doom trio, Faetooth. Thank you so much, y'all, for jumping on. How's your day been so far?
Um,
Good.
Honestly, my house almost caught on fire last night.
Oh my God.
So, it's been like a day, but honestly, just really honestly, an extra grateful day to be alive. It's been a really nice day. Beautiful weather out and just grateful to be alive today.
Wow.
Wow,
Yes.
that's a very positive way to look at it. I'm glad that your house is okay. I'm glad that you are okay.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
have to start it
sometimes.
off like that.
No, it's totally okay. Yeah. I'm
I
like,
love the realness.
thank you so much for even jumping on for this interview in the first place after something like that,
Yeah.
like.
Our internet just came on like a couple hours ago. So
All right.
fun.
Well, once again, very glad that your house is okay and you're safe. I just want to, before we kind of touch in on some of the current stuff that's going on with the band, I'd love to sort of go back to the beginning of how this band initially came together. What sort of drew y'all to come together, the three of you, to create this kind of music in the first place? Because it obviously is an amalgamation of so many different sounds and styles, and I'd really like to know what sort of the inception point was for this band.
Well, we have known each other for a really long time. Jenna and I have known each other since high school. We didn't go to the same school, but just mutual friends, raw through the local music scene. We just grew up in like the alternative, music scene growing up, like punk and grunge. And I think we just kind of, really united through just really our love for music. And I think just like our love for like being, I don't know, like being different and like not wanting to make music that everyone else wanted to hear. Like, I think Chelsea Wolfe is like a really good example. Uh, I don't know. I think I know like Riot Girl was like a really huge thing, like, coming up out of the LA music scene, at least for me, like when I was a teenager. I was throwing shows back then just at like our local venue called Time Warp. And then I started throwing shows at The Smell. And then like COVID hit, but that was also like in our early years of Faetooth as well. But yeah, Jenna and Rock can speak more to that as well.
Yeah, pretty much. We all kind of grew up in the same little scene, where we were all growing up, had friends in bands and whatnot. We all kind of like we were either trying to start bands or we were playing music or whatnot. And I know Ari had wanted to start a heavy project for a while, and then it just kind of became a thing where we all individually convened one night. We're like, let's give it a shot and started jamming. And jamming turned into having a couple songs and making our EP slash those kind of things we kind of consider a demo at this point. Playing our first show, and then everything kind of expanded from that point.
The term fairy doom is obviously a very unique and intriguing descriptor for your sound. When you first started Faetooth, did you have a clear vision of the band's identity, and how does fairy doom kind of represent as a whole?
I I think when I think of Fairy Doom, it was kind of like it created itself, basically. It's started as kind of like a silly tongue-in-cheek thing. Like, how do we describe our sound? Because we just kind of had our couple of songs and we knew we wanted to create like a heavy, sludgier project. That was definitely from the get. Like, we knew that was it. Um, but I think it it describes kind of the more magical tones of not just the lyrics that we have, but maybe some of the more reverby, more atmospheric parts that kind of, put you in a trance, kind of stuff like you'd be visited by a fairy. Um, so that's like when I think about it, I think that maybe the name itself kind of there's like a symbiotic relationship with us in that.
No, for sure.
That.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Death of Day, which is going to be your next single, which is dropping on April 18th, this is your first release in nearly 3 years. What was sort of the creative spark behind this song and sort of what have these last 3 years been like? And, does it feel very relieving to finally be putting out new music after so much, I guess not so much time has passed, but to some degree, yeah, it's been 3 years and, this definitely has to feel very relieving to be putting out this new music.
Definitely, yeah. It's very relieving, I think, for like any artist. I mean, especially for us, we not move on in a way where we just want to like get away from old stuff, but we kind of our brains are always wanting to create, which is part of
Mhm.
being an artist. Um, I feel like um not just in terms of taking time to create music and write an album, but just the natural course of life and also the industry itself, which just creates its own timeline. Because we had written that song, I would say, not too long after our album came out, or the first one. It wasn't that long. I definitely remember writing that a couple years ago. So a lot has changed in the band. I mean, from us changing from a four-piece to a three-piece, that contributes to this well. But we're very excited to have it finally out. It's the oldest song on the new album.
Yeah. Yeah, and I the first thing that I really noticed about the song and in particular with a lot of your songs, but very much with this track is there is obviously this very hypnotic yet crushing dynamic to the sound. How do you sort of approach balancing heaviness with the more ethereal atmospheric moments, especially on this track?
I think we definitely, with this next album, especially, we took that a lot, took dynamics into consideration a lot more. I think when we write, it has a lot to do with where we are in our lives as well, just in general. And I think we really wanted to embrace a lot of the more softer sides. I mean, there's so many crushing and like heavy aspects parts of this album that, you know, that are, in there, but there's a lot of softness and balance. And sorry, my cat is like clawing me like a baby right now. It is like so hard to
No
focus.
problem.
She's like licking me and stuff. Sorry.
It's okay.
Um, yeah, there's like just so much balance within this single and this throughout this entire album that I think through do you mind? Um, that I think it just really reflected where we were in our personal lives as well. And I think just the messages throughout the lyrical meanings and just the actual like sonical, you know, where this album takes you. And I hope what listeners take away just like throughout the listening process. Uh, it's just a really interesting dynamic that I think really reflects the softer side of ourselves as well that we didn't really. I mean, I think when we wrote Remnants there was like softness in there as well, but this is like a different side of us, I think, coming up that people will see, hopefully.
Yeah, that was sort of my next question. How do you feel like your sound has evolved with this new album? Were there any new approaches specifically that you experimented with this time in comparison to Remnants of the Vessel?
Yeah, I think definitely we like made sure to write a lot more we wanted to go heavier and we wanted to go harder and softer and quieter and just make sure that that wall of sound was still there and then a lot more emotion was there. I mean, I definitely, at least for the parts like lyrically that I wrote, were a lot more diaristic than I probably wrote in Remnants. And I think we're definitely very relieving to write. Uh Remnants was like, I think diaristic as well, but like I could cite Remains was definitely diaristic, but uh I don't know. I think I definitely got a lot of stuff off my chest with this upcoming album, especially
I would
for
say it's
sure.
definitely a literally a more personal project
Yeah.
or album overall.
Yeah, I mean, what were some of the central themes that you are exploring on this new album? Because obviously, you know, with a song like Death of Day, I know that you've been open about saying that it sort of touches on seclusion and isolation, as one of the themes of that track. But in general, what would you say are sort of the themes that tie this all together?
For Death of Day, it was interesting because I was still in a place where I was writing kind of about whatever media I was picking up at the time. So Death of Day, like initially, I was just reading a book about the goddess Lilith and just kind of the theme of coming from the dregs and the lowest part of something of like literal nastiness of everything that is like pushed to the bottom is where she was supposed to come from, basically. And so I was just reading a little book about that and I was kind of obsessing over it and that theme for a bit. And sometimes I could be personally for me, I could be writing about something else and I realize I think it's in general, there's a lot more meaning to it. And for what I was kind of gating from that, it was just yeah, a lot of themes of isolation and being viewed as kind of like a monster to society. And I
Mm.
feel like a lot of folks who exist in the world that we live in now can relate to that, whether they are trans and they're existing in the society that we live into that is telling them that everything about them is wrong and an evil and they're just existing and they've always existed and you can't get rid of it. Exactly like the death of days, you can't get rid of it. You won't. You may see it as something that came from the lowest thing, or that's what you see it as in myth of Lilith. That's where she came from, but you can't get rid of her.
Yeah.
I love that you bring up Lilith because that is a huge inspiration for me. Lilith is the deity that I work with, and I have a lot of imagery throughout Pretty Call. I'm heavily inspired by Lilith. And it was interesting as Ari was even talking a little bit ago, it was kind of giving me like death tarot card vibes,
Mhm.
how you were saying, there was things going on in your personal life and how like you guys wanted to evolve and this is a different it's still there's still softness in the other music, but this is a different side of you guys. And then you brought in Lilith and I was like, oh, this is so sick because there's just like everything that resonates with me as a person. And I love that you related Lilith being like Lilith did just exist and her existence, because I've read a lot about her too, and it's very interesting. Different takes and mythologies and stuff on her, but literally, she did just exist, and she was so villainized for
Mhm.
who she was, for literally existing, being a woman, being equal, created as an equal.
Mhm.
And yeah, I love that. And I was like, I was getting chills while you were talking because I was like, oh yes, Lilith. So that's super sick. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I love to hear that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Obviously these last few years as a band, I'm sure has been very, very transformative for y'all. You know, how have life experiences, whether that be touring as the band is getting, bigger and more popular, and simply time shaped Faetooth's artistic vision, but also the band's dynamic as friends and collaborators over time now, leading into this new record?
That's a great question. I think we have I mean, we're still like learning, especially like how to tour. Like we just got home like a few days ago.
Hmm.
And we're still like recovering. We got sick near the end of our tour, so we're recovering.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're friends first, so I think that's like the best part of it all, like touring with your friends, writing with your friends, being in a band with your friends is great. We know how to read each other pretty well, thankfully. So like when one of us wants like alone time, we're like, okay, got you. It's alone time, like not feeling well, got you. But like writing together is like the best. I think we collaborate very well together. We can see like the final vision together very well, especially like writing the upcoming album was a really challenging, coming out of being a four-piece into a three-piece dynamic. But it was really fun and we worked together very well. And when it all like fell together, it was really fast and really easy. And we just work really well together and complement each other very well. And, just really excited to keep the wheel turning and go on more tours together, write more music together. Yeah, I don't know. I think.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking off of that question and answer, I would say, what is your biggest challenge or maybe a biggest revelation that you guys have faced as a band since your debut album?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think just like probably learning how to tour for longer. I think.
Yeah.
It's very challenging, but it's fun.
I would say one thing definitely is like the different modes of being in a band slash artist itself is the different avenues that you're reaching. So with your lyrics, you're reaching someone one way, and through performance, you're reaching someone another way, if that makes sense. But for performance, it's literally like your whole body, everything. And sometimes it's you have to gauge sometimes how much you can give with
Mhm.
performance, and not just performance, but meeting people after shows and realizing like how much of an effect that your music or performance and whatnot has on other people. It's gauging how much you want to give to each avenue, and sometimes you might realize in your brain like maybe you are like favoring one or another in your brain, but I think like I don't know, last couple days it was like having to step back and really take everything in and appreciate every single avenue of it.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on it a bit earlier, but kind of wanted to go back to it. Los Angeles has such a large, massive, diverse music scene. How do you guys feel that the city has shaped and inspired your music, whether it be in sounds, visuals, or themes?
Uh, we were all of us were, born here and grew up here, so this I think the city is just like implemented in us. I So many bands tour through here, and I think even that's implemented in us as well.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, that
rare that
makes
you meet
sense.
a
Yeah.
band that's actually from LA these days. Like
Yeah, it's
that's
true.
pretty. That's pretty awesome.
Um,
I would say, yeah, going back to like even the first question is that we were surrounded by so many different kinds of music.
Mhm.
Not even just like in the last couple of years or the moment the band was starting, but like as kids. Too, there's so many people, like not so much music that we're listening to, but I don't know, I feel like almost everybody knows someone like that's not even necessarily like in a big band, but like my family members were playing music one way or another. They
Mhm.
were just playing local shows or not. That's how I got my first instrument growing up. When I was 11 years old, is that I had a family member that played guitar and they saw that I took interest in playing and they fed that, thankfully. So I think there's just so much music and so much art going on here that it shapes you one way or another, and then you just kind of find your section.
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Do you have like if you were to take if a friend was coming from out of town, like what would be your ideal day in LA that you could give them?
What would you say, Ra?
I'd hmm, probably take them to like Elysian Park or LA State Historic Park. Those are two of my favorite parks. And I can actually see it from the porch I'm on right now. It's really, and LA is just such a beautiful city.
Yeah, there's literally so much culture. Like I don't know, there's like when I like when we go on the road or anything, it's like just kind of passing through like middle America.
Yeah.
I definitely get a little sad because
Yeah.
we even have like friends that are just like not even just like to narrow it down to just food, but like just it's such a privilege to like even all the foods have and all the access to different cultures and people like all over the
hmm
city. It's I don't know, I think it's one of my favorite things from being around here. And the people that I was able to grow up with and be around and learn from, I think it's just one of the best. So I don't know, I would take them everywhere.
Yeah.
Dodger
Starting with all
game.
the good food first. No, I travel a lot with my brand as well, and I've done festivals and been on the road, and every time I've found some great places throughout America, but every single time when I come home, I'm like, oh, so good to be back in LA. I can't wait to eat my LA food and like have
Yeah.
like actually good ethnic food and like
Mhm.
Literally,
everything. Like I have not been the closest place I have found that I could like see myself living in would have to be like a Portland or a Seattle. Alessandro's obviously
Yeah.
from Seattle.
Totally.
There's some of it there, but there's nothing like LA. Even with all of our problems, I'm like, we're still the best. I'm sorry. We are.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's like getting stoked for like the food in like Des Moines, Iowa, on a tour stop. Like, I mean, maybe there's some hidden gems, but especially like I don't like if you're if you're vegan or anything like that too, it's like sometimes next to
Yeah.
impossible in the
Yeah,
Midwest or something
I
We
like that.
we
exactly.
have to make sure there's food for Jenna on tour.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
No, and just kind of another sort of fun question is, when I listen to the music of Faetooth, it has such a cinematic quality to it, and sort of got me thinking like if Faetooth could score a soundtrack
Ooh.
for
Oh,
any film, past, present, or future, what movie would you think your music would be the perfect fit for?
Ooh.
This is such a good question.
Wait. The first thing that came to my mind was like The Craft.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, that would be
That'd
sick.
be good. Yeah.
Uh, this is
um,
such a good question.
yeah, so like not necessarily like a
I have
film,
to,
but like we're all super on the Yellow Jackets train right
Oh yeah.
Oh,
now.
right
yeah,
on.
I have to look at my letterbox before I answer this.
Yellow Jacket. So like not even necessarily just that, but like something that has that vibe where there's like a bunch of like girls or like femmes like in the woods,
Yeah.
vibing like anything like that with kind of final girl like themes or like anything where there's like a fight to survive. I feel like we can really be in.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just like any like if A24 is ever looking like y'all's music would be fucking perfect for that, like it's like I was watching Have you all seen I Saw the TV Glow, that movie
Yes.
yet?
I haven't seen
Oh,
that
Yes.
yet.
oh
I've
my
It's so
God.
good.
It's so good. And like obviously like King Woman is in that movie and it's like that vibe is like perfect and I feel like
Hmm.
y'all's music would be so great in any kind of film like that. Or like any Ari Aster movie or something like that. It'd be like so
Mm.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
looking at
awesome.
my letterbox right now. I needed a visual.
I think if we somehow could have played like a band in like a David Lynch movie,
Oh
that'd
my gosh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
Oh,
cool.
that'd
That's
be so
awesome.
sick.
I
So
feel
your
like I,
band obviously, your band name obviously conjures up a very like eerie, mythical vibe. If Faetooth were to be a mythical creature, what would it look like and what would the powers be?
Ooh.
oh my God. What was that like? Do you remember those old books that were they did turn into a movie series? They were like it would be something from that probably. They were like kids books. Gosh, I can't remember what
Hmm.
they were called.
I'm just thinking about Animorphs.
Yeah, I was gonna say Animorphs.
Ah, they were so cute though. They were like
Are they like the fairy books?
yeah, they were
Yeah,
like fairy books, but they were like
I know what you're talking
stories.
about. I don't remember what they were called, but it was like every story had like an individual, like different color, like fairy.
Mm-hmm.
For what
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe some sort of um yeah, like angel, biblically accurate kind of angel with a bunch of eyes and swords and stuff. And um I think the powers would be to maybe like shoot lightning out of the eyeballs.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love that. A bit like that's one of my favorite things to read about. I read a lot of fantasy, and that's like one of my favorite things to read about is when there's like angels, but not like good ones, like more like accurate because like angels are actually supposed to be like scary and kind of
Yeah,
ugly,
they're like
and
shapes.
literally, and like absolutely terrifying if you see one. And I like love reading about stuff that's like angels that are like actually demons because I also feel like that's so like not overdone yet in like the fantasy world. So I could totally see that. Just like a really creepy thing with like lightning coming out of the eyes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
very supernatural, like the show.
Yes, yes.
for sure. And this is such a generic question. I feel like it's like totally like the YouTuber question right here. But you know, y'all have obviously been touring way more than you initially were, when you first started the band. Obviously, you just got back from doing, a bunch of sold out shows in like Arizona, like Salt Lake City and all these different places. So you've definitely been on the road quite a bit. Do you have any funny tour stories that you could share from these recent runs?
Um,
Um, well, yeah. So at our last tour stop, we have been saying that we like, hi, we're sick, like we're doing our best. Like, thank you so much for coming. And this very young, cute married couple came up to each of us after and was like, hey, like, can I get like, like, can I get like a guitar pick? They came up to me first, I think. And this girl was like, hey, could you like spit in my hand or something?
Oh.
Um, and it definitely gave me a good laugh. But I was like, obviously, no. Um, I could give you my guitar pick. Here you go. And then I ran backstage and was like, that was kind of crazy, but it gave us a good laugh. So that was that.
yeah, like besides spitting in hands, I mean like I hate to be like, oh, but we're just so silly, but like we really are just like ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
being in the van and stuff, like just all of us together, we're all we're annoying the hell out of each other all the time, equally. Um, I but for besides like the everyday, I started doing this thing Um, I think in between like this before the breakdown of our song Discarnate, I am starting to yell shake that ass. Uh, just to see who does it. I don't know if anybody's done it yet, but I can't see.
I usually shake my ass on stage, but I'm turned around, so I can't see either.
I love talking to each other while we're playing.
Yeah, you usually say like a your mom joke, but like but like I can't hear you. I just see you go,
I also say I love you.
you do? I did not
Yeah.
know that.
Aw.
I'm like
Aw.
while I'm playing, I'm like, Jenna, I love you.
Aw.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
the AI Taco Bell thing was kind of crazy. That was
Oh my
What's
God.
that.
that?
Well, we pulled up to Taco Bell at like 1 a.m. after our San Diego show, and we were like trying to order, and it just like came up as AI, and they like it was like an AI voice, and it was terrifying. And we kept saying we want a medium like drink, and they were like a large or I don't know. They kept saying like the wrong thing, and we just kept like yelling at it and like laughing. And then finally, like this girl who was like there by herself closing, she was like she started laughing and was like, "Hey guys, sorry about that. Like I'll take your order." And she was like listening to us the whole time, um, just like being frustrated with AI.
There we
That
go.
was funny. I
That's
can't.
But
crazy. They're using AI to take people's orders
And
now.
it's not even doing it right. Come on.
Not even right.
Yeah, and they were literally like I felt so bad because they were like 10 minutes from closing and we were just like shooting our shot, like hoping that the Taco Bell was like open and the AI wasn't even doing its job.
Oh gosh.
My God. Wow. That's incredible. And Jenna, respect. That is like the greatest mosh call I think I've ever heard in my entire life. I think that's what every mosh call should really be at its core. Like no
shake that
more of like,
ass.
yeah, like that. No more like kill each other, like that is so much better. That's so much better. So salute to you. Thank you. And if you could sort of describe this next era of Faetooth in just a few words, what would it be?
Mm.
I would say
I'll say whimsical.
Ooh,
Ooh.
I like that.
whimsical. I know there's got to be a word, some
Spooky.
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 people.
Visceral.
Ooh.
Okay,
Mm.
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
Yeah, very real. Very, very transparent.
Last question for you guys. What's next for Faetooth? Obviously, you just got back from tour with the around the US. I see you guys have some Europe shows coming. Obviously, we have the new single. Anything else you guys want to talk about or share?
Well, we're hitting Europe again in the summer. Well, the first time, but we're going to Roadburn next week, so technically it'll be again. Um, and then uh our album will be out later this year. So
Nice.
Excited for that.
Maybe a couple things being announced here and there.
some singles in
Some of them
between
might
then.
music, some of them might not be music. Just keep your eyes out the next couple months because you will be seeing a lot of us.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what we're allowed to say. So
That's okay.
I'm
Yeah.
like Europe in the summer, singles out,
East East
and
East Coast in a couple weeks too. Never
East
been there.
Coast.
Oh,
Yeah,
that'll be cool.
So
lots
Heck
of
y'all,
yeah.
new stuff.
is this y'all's first time going to Europe, you said? Like this
Yep.
Mhm.
will be your wow, okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I mean, what are you looking forward to about that? Is there any cities in particular, anything that you're sort of
Ooh.
prepared? Do you have your power converters ready to go for when you
Yes,
get
I
there? Okay,
Yes.
mine
I
cool.
did.
Yes.
just
Making
packed
sure.
mine
Okay,
today.
cool. Just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, I mean, as someone who's never been there, all of it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
excited to hopefully, because obviously sometimes with tour you're just kind of plopping at different places, but it's just as someone especially who's never been on that side of the world, I honestly could say I'm looking forward to everything. I'm hoping to see some green hills, maybe a castle or two, a creepy church, and all of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'll definitely see all of that for sure. I think you'll definitely
Yeah.
see some castles and creepy
Yeah.
churches.
We
I saw you
better.
guys are going to Germany, so
I'm
Germany has
excited
some
for that.
good castles.
Yeah.
Yep.
Amazing.
Uh, I've only been to Munich in Germany. It's beautiful. I actually got engaged at a castle. So,
Whoa.
unlike the
Oh,
castles in Germany are sick and churches everywhere, all throughout Europe. You're gonna, so many good ones. I could look at Gothic architecture all day long. I never get bored of it. I never get bored of going into the churches. So, I'm super excited for you guys to experience that for the first time. You're gonna love it. And I could also see, I think it'll be good. For me personally, it's a really good source of inspiration for art. So I also feel like you guys might come back really inspired from there as well.
And
Yeah.
they treat bands way better at venues out in Europe,
I've
That's
apparently.
so we've heard.
Yeah.
heard that. Yes.
Like they're just like, we made all this food for you. There's showers, there's literally places to sleep, and they make it like so easy for you. And I'm
Ugh,
like, we
Yeah.
just
amazing.
oh my God, I can't wait.
That's so weird.
yeah. So that's cool.
I
Um,
cannot wait. Oh my God.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
also excited to like meet our fans and listeners who have been waiting to come see us for the longest time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Totally.
Well, that's super amazing, and it's going to be such a special experience. And just congrats on everything, y'all. And just thank you so much again for jumping on. This has been a great chat.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of
Of
course.
course.
All right, y'all. Well, have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
You too. Thank you.
Later.
Bye.